Thanks, Rowan. As I mentioned, the crowd building. Don't think Tom Cruise is here tonight. I did have a look around for him, but apparently not here yet. Richmond home game here on the Gold Coast. 6th versus 14th on the AFL ladder, and we're underway. We're only just underway because the umpire thought about recalling that. And there's a free kick in the middle. It'll go Adelaide's way to McLeod or Edwards. In fact, they might both get a possession here. They do. So a little 1-2, no. Goes to Bock instead. So a few touches for the boys early. Edwards in trouble here. Nahas had him for a long time, but not long enough. Johncock, he's got a few out wide. McLeod, Johncock. So they filled around, and it doesn't come off. Cochin gets the handball out. Post, first gamer. Good handball for his first touch. Might set up a goal. Tuck, Nahas kicks from the outside of his foot and misses. That would have been the perfect start for both Jaden Post and for Richmond.
It would have been. Look at the terrific smother from Trent Cochin, and great to see the pressure applied by little Robin Nahas. There's not much of him, but he collared Tyson Edwards in the centre square. He started the turnover and then all of a sudden nearly finished it off. Terrific second and third efforts.
And we said how the Adelaide Crows have really improved in recent weeks, how they've got their handball to kick ratio much better, and certainly they've started off by hand, which is not a great sign.
Yeah, more of a 1-for-1 at the moment from Adelaide as that ball stumped out of play by Chris Newman. Will get a ball in.
Benny Cousins coming onto the ground for his first run, so a few changes very early in the game.
Dean Polo's got the job on Chris Knights and needs to lock him down. He's been a good goal kicker for the Crows this year.
Dangerfield, who's been their go-to man for many ruck contests this year, unable to break free, will get another ball up.
Nathan Foley, who we saw had a lot of the ball last week in their loss to the Saints, is going to run with McLeod.
Graham and Marich. Ball not down to Edwards. First inside 50 towards Tippett, the local boy. And he takes the mark on 50. Kurt Tippett, local Southport Premiership player up here a few years ago. And he heads wide to Scott Thompson, who started on the bench for Adelaide, so a couple of quick changes.
Just works hard, Scott Thompson, but the kick just took him a little bit wider than perhaps he needed to. Hasn't left him with a lot of angle.
Has to be an All-Australian contender and a Brownlow medal contender, Scott Thompson. 30-plus possessions in the majority of his games the last 2 months.
They're not deep pockets here, so this is not as hard as it might be on some grounds.
And not bad off the boot. Make that beautiful. A little bit of perfection early.
And sometimes it's just the difference in skill that sets the two sides apart. We saw Richmond create opportunities with good pressure early. At the other end, Nahas misses a running shot, but probably one he should have kicked, and then Thompson threads the needle from a pretty tight angle.
Good grab there from Tippett to start with, and Edwards has got off to a flying start. He's had 3 disposals in the first 2 minutes, so a good start for Tyson Edwards.
I, like you, Jason, thought it was a little wide for the pass, but Lynchy was spot on. Pockets not as deep as some, not as deep as yours.
Oh,
on the journey here. From the ball up.
You are kidding.
Throw out almost from Foley. And Cousins. Flick up. Mugwan. And not going anywhere. We'll get another ball up. Richmond home game here tonight after North Melbourne abandoned any plans to move up here. And the Richmond banner said beautiful one day, perfect for the next, the Tigers. It hasn't quite been that way, but cheer squads and everybody need to be optimistic that the Richmond Footy Club can finish the season strongly.
Some good attack on the ball around this stoppage. Big numbers from both teams around the middle of the ground, and only 2 forwards in the forward 50 for the Adelaide Crows, so plenty of space forward for the Crows.
Saw Jade Rawlings, whose honeymoon was over at quarter time last week against the Saints, a win to start it as a coach and a good opening term against the Saints, but then it all went astray, unfortunately for him, last week. Now here's the use of handball. Newman, Foley, Graham. Handball back to Tambling, who runs back into trouble from Newman. Graham, and he throws it back again. Edwards cuts it off. No one to go to.
Great vision.
Kick around the body is good to Tippett. On 50, takes off. He has no one to go to, so he goes all the way. He knows where they are here, all right.
Look, a lot of people will sit there and they'll be aghast at the turnover that Richmond brought upon themselves by overusing the footy, but at least they're trying to run and create. The issue's got to be attack, take risks. Yes, it's going to cost turnovers, and turnovers in modern-day football cost goals. The unfortunate part there is you had a ruckman, and nothing against Angus Graham, he works hard, but you don't want a ruckman involved 2 or 3 times in a chain of hand passes because he doesn't normally have the vision and the skill that the good on-ballers do.
And Queensland has been an amazing breeding ground, Lynchy for tools. Ben Hudson, Nick Revolt, Jamie Charman, Daniel Merritt, Clark Keating, Trent Noble. It's a long list of players from Queensland who play in key positions for the AFL and teams they've represented.
And Jesse White's another one from a direct from a basketball background, playing with the Sydney Swans at the moment. So a lot of big lumps around. Brad Moran at the Adelaide Crows injured at the moment. So plenty of big talent.
Certainly is. White, Cousins might get this Revolt handball. He does. Shirley was ready for it. Couldn't wrap him up. Handball out. Collins was under pressure. He couldn't decisively break free with it. Hislop tries to get it out. Revolt does. That was a throw.
Manufactured.
Foley's kick smothered, so they get away with it. McKay.
He does behind plate.
He does deliver the ball well normally, McKay. And Knights might get on the end of this. Bouncing ball, tough one. Polo with him. Throws it back. This is Sylvester. Mature age recruit, 24 years of age, playing in just game number 2, Jared Sylvester, and he's been good in his first game in a bit, and here is that injury.
Yeah, this is Douglas just copping it in the face, but I tell you what, when the trainer told him to come off, he shrugged the arm away from him, didn't like it at all. Yeah,
on a cold night, you certainly don't like one in the mush early in the game.
So you reckon this is a cold night, do you, up here?
Actually, it's Alistair? A little bit crisp. If we flick down to Rowan Smith in about half an hour, I reckon he'll be just starting to get icicles off the end of the nose, but it's a pretty cool night.
Yeah, only about 15 or 16.
Yeah, right. I've softened a little bit from the Tassie days, it's fair to say.
Ball up on the wing, 12 plays 1.
And Lynchy, you'll be happy to know that I left my mittens back at the hotel. Didn't think I'd need them tonight, but might have to get somebody to go and get them after half time.
Well, you've got your big trench coat down there, so you should be right for a while.
Hip and shoulder on Cousins by McLeod was good, though Cousins just as good, got it up, but he's hurt. His shoulder is hurt, Ben Cousins. He's in a bad way. Thompson, he's dragged down. Ball comes up to Foley. Back to Cousins, he's okay all of a sudden. Now to Tuck. High bomb inside 50. Morton threw his man out, and Alton's ball.
There's a little bit both ways there. Morton was a bit vigorous with the way he threw his opponent in Otten out of the road, but Ben Cousins still down on the haunches, looks fairly uncomfortable, so you'd suggest he'd come from the ground just to have a rest for a few minutes.
Edwards over the top. Van Berlo. Send the Crows back inside 50. Lee comes to the pocket, that's ignored. Heads toward the goal mouth. Paul Pleasure was down there, and Firstfield outread Stevens and heads wide and hits the boundary line with a ball that some would call deliberate, but he got the benefit of the doubt.
This is Ben Cousins just copping a good solid bump there from Andrew McLeod. Good battle between Tyson Edwards and Nathan Foley. They've both had 5 touches apiece and both off for a spell already.
Now Graham wrapped up Tippett and Tippett wrapped up Graham, and Graham gets the free.
It's always the one with the 2 ruckmen look at the umpire hoping it's theirs because they're never quite sure.
Yeah, I don't think anyone in the stadium has any idea which way the free kick in those situations is going to go. Adelaide Crows are doing very well here. They're giving Richmond no space when they have possession. That is forcing the multiple handballs and then the turnovers ultimately.
And you would presume there'd be some people in this stadium that have just no idea. Hopefully football is starting to grow up here, Lynchy. They've got the demolition crew waiting outside to bulldoze this one at the end of this game.
This is the second go at Carrara. I mean, obviously in 1987 when the Bears came here to 92, then 2006 up until now, and I think it's up to 71 games. So people are starting to see plenty of AFL football in this area and starting to have a real appreciation for the code.
Good size about the 2 debutants tonight. We know Sean McKernan is a decent-sized fellow for the Adelaide Crows, and also Jaden Post for the Tigers, and a pretty tough debut when your first opponent's Ben Rutten.
Oh, yeah, multiple All-Australian defender, very big and solid and strong.
Scott Thompson met heavily. And another pack forms. We'll get another ball up. So McKernan on screen. Of course, big brother Corey, 237 games with North Melbourne and Carlton, of course, and a couple of premierships with North Melbourne. So a big career for big brother. Short chip kick by Polo, put Tambling under pressure. John Cock with him and wrapped up. And no one really wants to get that out. We'll get another ball up. There's Jaden Post.
Good size, and he moves well. Already looks very good moving across the ground. He's got himself involved in the play a couple of times.
And started this year in the Coburg Reserves, so it really has been a big rise for him. Coburg Reserves to Coburg Seniors, and had a breakout best on ground game last week and into the seniors for game 1. Adelaide away on the wing. Paul Pleasure and Dangerfield. Well, McGuan met him with hip and shoulder. Should he met him with more? Paul Pleasure inside 50. McLeod into the boundary line. Tippett full forward, and Tippett gets a free for being held.
Yeah, he was in a very good position, Kurt Tippett, and just went to push Sylvester under the ball. And as he did, Sylvester just wrapped the arms around in a last-ditch effort to hold his ground and go the free kick away. So great kick from McLeod. He ran very hard from centre wing to find the space, and then delivery on the left foot to the top of the goal square was exquisite.
Chance for his second for the night, Kirk Tippett. 24th of the season, that was never in doubt. 3-0 start for Adelaide.
And the forward line is working very well for the Adelaide Crows. They're pushing right up the ground and putting pressure on the midfield of the Richmond Football Club. On this occasion, it was the fact that McLeod just had worked very hard from behind the ball and found that sort of space. But they just got to find some more space themselves, Richmond. They're just given no space, one-on-one contest through the middle. Edwards is playing extremely well and just racking up disposals at the moment.
He's unlucky there, Jared Sylvester. It's just his second game, debut in the loss last week against the Saints, but he's a solid man, really, 24 years of age, and he's a fullback playing fullback as opposed to a forward trying to be made into a fullback. He's been playing fullback for Coburg for the last couple of years.
Tough start for him, having a couple of early goals hicked on him, but terrific after that last goal that a lot of his teammates got across to him.
And here he comes here, about to get it on cue. Sylvester, the big cat, as they call him, as in Sylvester. Edwards gets it on to Collins and sends it wide. Tough ball, and had to wait for it. McGuan takes the mark at half-back.
You'd just be starting to wonder in the first 2 weeks of football how big they make these full forwards with Kazitsky last week and then big Kurt Tippett this week.
Handball back to Bock. Just side steps, a shimmy. Creates the loose man, John Cock. Shirley. And now cross full-back Seller. It's a poor kick. Turnover. Edwards. And, well, you don't try and sell a dummy to one of the greatest of all time.
He was never going to sell that to Andrew McLeod. McLeod knew exactly what was going to happen.
Stevens. Too far out to score. 70 from goal. Sits it up. Tippett flies. Had a piece of it. A little bit of an arm whack. Polo, boundary line, his friend. Ball in.
Well, we're going to have a very good close examination of Jared Sylvester because Kurt Tippett looks like he's in for a big night. There's a tremendous tackle from Andrew McLeod. And you're right, Lynchy, young bloke trying to pull the wool over the eyes of one of the best was never going to happen.
Free kick in the ruck contest. It's Adelaide's ball. And even worse for Richmond fan, it's going to the dead eye, Paul Pleasure.
It's going to go.
No, Chris Knights gets it even. Well, it's probably just as bad.
I wonder if it looks like it's been Dean Polo called for holding off the ball, and you just can't afford to give these sort of kicks away.
Well, Paul Pleasure's kicked 30 goals, 6 this year. Chris Knights 21 goals, 5. So
he's been fantastic. A lot of those coming from on the run. He's kicked some bombs on the run from outside 50.
Dwayne called one from 70 one night, didn't you?
I think it was from 70 actually. This well within his repertoire. And just the standard half dozen added to the score from his boot.
And that's the second free kick in stoppages that the Richmond side have given away for holding. So obviously they're very conscious to stop the run of the Adelaide Crows midfield, but they're just putting a little bit too much physical pressure on before the ball comes into play, and there's a hold in the jumper, and that's an obvious free kick against Dean Polo. So 2 free kicks that Jade Rawlings wouldn't be too impressed about. And that man just does not miss.
Adelaide Crows bench, and Douglas didn't look too bad. Hopefully not far from coming back on after that knock. Seller into the ruck now against Vickery, 2 young players, and free kick again to Adelaide to James Seller.
Yeah, the umpire just deemed that Vickery had his eyes directly on his opponent when he was jumping.
Toledo outmarks Thompson. Cousins, the midfield, revolt. Hands it off Jackson. Little fumble, got it back, sends it long. Morton can't get there quick enough to cut Johncock off, but the tackle, Hislop, twist and turn and dump, took too long. Incorrect disposal from Tom Hislop. Adelaide ball. McKay leaves that, called out by Rutten. Bock. And they combine so often. Heads wide. Paul Pleasure and McLeod. Paul Pleasure called McLeod into that. He wasn't going to go for it. Heads wide. Tip it in the box head again. And is that an arm slap free?
Push in the back.
Okay, it'll do.
He looks like he's going to have an absolute night out, Kurt Tippett. His confidence is soaring. He's running and jumping at everything. He's already got a couple of early ones under the belt. They're going to have to seriously lift the pressure and intensity further afield, Richmond, or their defenders are going to get cut up.
That's the big thing. There's been plenty of time on the ball carrier to hit up the targets, and Kurt Tippett's been able to get a few yards on his direct opponent in Sylvester.
Another kick from a shallow pocket. Across the face. The Gold Coast crowd know he's not coming, Alistair. Kurt Tippett.
No, well, I mean, have a look at the free kick here for Sylvester. Just not a lot in it. He probably should have marked the ball anyway. But
we don't know that he's not coming yet, Dwayne.
Is he coming, Alistair?
No, he's got 18 months of a contract to go at the Adelaide Crows. So still.
And when the Gold Coast kick off?
About 18 months' time.
Correct. and who manages him?
Well, our company looks after his interests, but I would think it'd be very difficult to get him away.
Shirley to Doughty to Stevens.
From South Australia.
I think his price just went up a little bit.
It's going to go up as we go through the night. The way he started. Stevens, speaking of accurate kicks, to line up from directly out.
Nathan Foley off, and he looks like he's hobbling.
And not bad off the boot. Drifts a little more perfection from Adelaide. Golden start for them.
Well, we hoped for a contest tonight, but this is the worst possible start for Richmond. They showed great intensity in the first couple of minutes, created an opportunity, but since then, it has been all the Adelaide Crows, and they are just dominating the contest, going forward with ease, no pressure, hitting targets and kicking straight.
Winside 50s, 8-3 in favour of the Adelaide Crows. Possessions are not too much different, but that's because Richmond have basically overhandled the ball.
He's got his hands full, hasn't he, Jade Rawlings? He needs to do something and do something quickly, or more importantly, get his players to do something quickly, because this could slip away.
Just need to get the hand on the ball and try to control the tempo a little bit. I know we like to see them try to play on and back themselves, but at the moment, just there's a lot of flow coming off half back from the Adelaide Crows, and it's very hard for the Tigers to stop.
Yes, here's that flow again. Alistair, you spoke of, straight to Edwards on the wing. So Delidio gets the clearance for Richmond. Adelaide essentially take it away. Wide ball, Symes. Played on, stayed in. Got around Tambling with ease, really. Throws it up to Tippett. Knocked away, poor Pleasure. Can't get the snap away. Rolling ball from the boot of Sean McKernan. And he can't kick his first in AFL footy behind.
Well, so just talking about then trying to control the tempo of the game. It's very hard if you haven't got the ball. But then Symes took that mark 60 metres out from goal because of work rate. And at the moment, he's just working harder than his direct opponent. Now, at the time, it seemed like Tambling just wasn't going hard enough to get to the contest. It's a shove.
Seller with the push out. Graham's ball.
I think a Bronx cheer from the crowd. Finally, a Richmond free kick.
Hubert, a sloppy handball. Polo under pressure immediately, and he's dead.
Well, it doesn't help when you've got the skipper running off half-back in Chris Newman, who's doing the right thing, trying to create a springboard and attack, but then gives a poor hand pass, putting a teammate under pressure.
Vince and Sylvester, front spot, as you mentioned, full-back playing full-back, which at least makes him look reasonably comfortable back there.
That'll do his confidence the world of good. He assumed front position. That was well done.
But, Jace, also, they're just not playing attacking footy at the moment. Brett Delidio started on the bench. He's one of their most attacking players, but he's actually tagging Scott Thompson at the moment. So he's basically not looking to get the ball. So they're just playing a little bit negative at the moment.
At some point, though, 5-0, you need to shut it down, don't you?
Yeah, I think you've got to shut it down to stop the opposition's flow. But once again, you've got to get the ball in your hands, and at the moment, they're just struggling to do that.
Nahas showed the ball and then kick towards Tambling, couldn't mark it. Tries to get a kick away and does. Collins, Cochin, inside 50, good chance here. Adelaide with the numbers again. Rutten, chip kick. And they're away. In fact, it was Bock from fullback. Long to half forward. Spoil. Post. Turns it over. Knights. He could go the journey from there and knows it. Kicks long. Touched. Through for a behind.
Jaden Post was trying to shoot a quick hand pass out, and he just thought that the player there was a teammate. In actual fact, it was an opposition player.
McGuan towards Tambling. And took the 3 on and 1.
They got players over the back of the zone here.
Perfect chance here. Vickery with the pluck. Thought about playing on.
Well, he's got
loose players everywhere.
And he does give it. And unselfishly over the top from Morton. And Tom Hislop gets a chance to kick one for the Tigers.
Boy, they needed it. And you can put that one down to Richard Tambling. He beat 3 players up on the wing. He flew for the mark and then broke through a couple of loose players. They had the numbers, and then a good penetrating kick. You see a good high mark taken there by Tyrone Vickery, and then they were queuing up to run this one in. It could have gone to anyone. 2 players in the square on their own.
It took 22 minutes, but they're on the board, the Tigers. Into time on, opening term, Marich clever, sidestep, knocked it down, Thompson caught, we'll get another ball up.
And Dwayne, is also a little bit of bad news for Richmond at the moment. Nathan Foley has just gone down to the rooms. It looks like he's changing his boots, but we're not too sure at the moment. But just keep you updated on that. Hopefully he's not injured.
Was hobbling when he came off, Smithy.
Cousins swoops. Doughty swooped on him, pressure on the handball. Play on advantage. Jackson through the hands of Morton, but lucky for him, it was still there. High bomb. Revolt floats in. Gee, that was almost a fantastic grab. Bock runs away.
Now they're in trouble, though. They've got numbers up here, the Crows.
Bouncing ball is a good ball for McKernan. Shoots it inboard. Symes looked up. Knights was covered. Gives it to him now. He's uncovered. Back again. Tried the 1-2. Polo cut it off. Tigers a chance again here. Edwards, Tuck, Polo. Through a couple. Jackson. Now another inside 50. Revolt again. So you got a little nudge there. Umpire didn't like it. Didn't like the attempt at playing for the free, that is. Van Berlo wide to Shirley. And now Rutten. They're away here. Thompson with the half volley. He's got numbers to give to. He elects to go to McLeod. Thumps it up long. Big fist this time from Graham. And we'll get a ball in. 26 points the margin.
Graham pushing back deep along with Post. There are 2 loose men in defence at the moment, just trying to stop the flow of the Adelaide Crows into their forward 50.
Little tap down Tippett. Couldn't make something of it. McGuan does to Moore.
Well done.
Shoots his way through the congestion. Hislop, Tambling, back to Tuck.
Morton's in space.
Needs to be a good kick. It is. 70 from goal. Centering ball over the head of Revolt, getting back Nahas. Not sure what he was doing there. Not sure if anybody knew what he was doing. Might create a goal regardless. Kicks with the outside of the foot again. Missed one earlier in the term. Nails this one.
Well, some good work off halfback. I think it was more, Jason,
yeah,
you called,
just
attacked the ball and took on the tackler and pierced the gap and delivered up to the forward line. Morton found some space, and then unbelievably, Nahas was in an enormous amount of space, sitting by himself in the forward 50, had plenty of time to swing back around and just nicely used the outside of the right boot. So some good signs over the last few minutes for the Tigers. They're finding some space and they're hitting targets.
First goal of the night for Nahas. Rowan Smith.
Well, Dwayne, Nathan Foley just came out from the rooms, just ran past me. His lower part of his right leg is heavily taped, and he was limping significantly. So he's in a little bit of trouble, I think, boys.
It's interesting, Smith, because we saw him warming up prior to the game doing exercises that almost looked like a fitness test, and it looked like he may have been carrying an issue into the game.
Yeah, but that part of his leg wasn't taped, Jace, because I was noticing that. I had a look at that before the game. When he came out from the rooms, the tape, that lower part of his right leg, he's just taken his boot off now, and the doctors having a look at him, but he was limping heavily as he ran past me.
That'll be a huge loss for the Tigers if he can't contribute the way he normally does.
One of the Tigers' better players last week with 30 disposals. 30
Starting
plus.
to get a little bit of the footy now, the Tigers. Lynchy, they've actually got their nose in front in terms of total disposals, 83 to 80, but it's the inside 50s. They're still getting beaten 12-8.
Yeah, but it's working out of the stoppages. They're getting clearances.
Tuck to Thirstfield, to Jackson. 70 from goal.
Lots of numbers back. He's got to be clever with this kick. He's got to be patient.
Yeah, the long bomb is just no good when they're outnumbered deep.
Well, he got a clip around the ears, didn't he?
No free to Collins there. Cousins, Tuck. Back to the man who had it initially, Jackson. And he attempts another low trajectory kick, Paul Pleasure. Dragged down. And prior opportunity, ball up. Umpires tonight, Damien Sully, Stuart Wen and Troy Pennell.
Just cop this one. You can smother it a lot of different ways. He's caught a teammate flush on the beak.
That's two in about the same spot on the ground.
Symes.
Couldn't quite see who it was, but they're up and about. It was a good effort. Might have been Shane Tuck.
Cousins. Almost threw that out. Tamling, quick fire handball to Thirstfield. Marich. Good tackle on Tuck by Thompson. Got his arms free. Vickery. Polo to the top of the square. Revolt. Good fist from Bock. And Van Berlo back to Otten. And now Bock to reload them. Not a lot to go to. McLeod heads wide. Douglas spent some time off injured. Punched away from him by Polo. Tambling. Post. Takes them on the first gamer. Collins. And now Vickery. Cousins. And got it up just in time. So all the way back to halfback. Thirstfield, Jackson, Sylvester. Newman. Tuck.
Did cop one in the face earlier, but he is tough as nails, Shane Tuck. Good kick.
Heads wide, and Morton. Well, he claims it.
Oh, I think he took that.
And now play on, and Troy Pennell gets him out of a bind there.
He's filthy. He is filthy, Mitch Morton.
Well, they're both filthy.
Well, here's the look at it. Does he get the hands underneath the footy? I think that's a mark. That's a clean mark. A little bit unlucky there, Mitch Morton.
Well, if it's not a mark, it's holding the ball. Andy Otten,
the umpire doesn't want to burn him twice, though. I think it's a square up.
But have the intestinal fortitude to
back your first decision.
Play a decision. If you think it was a bump ball, then play holding the ball.
They never do, though, on those ones. If you complain enough, they'll ball it up.
Mind you, the umpire's boss is here tonight, Rowan Saws. Some pressure on the men in green tonight to impress. Centering kick towards Tippett. Half-man handled, play on.
He's fought back well, Sylvester, the last couple of contests.
Yeah, he's done well, and he's had some good support back there as well. Richmond are pushing numbers, but long as they run out in a wave now and don't just flood back and be stationary.
Turnover.
Or slaughter the ball like that.
Van Berlo, Doughty, John Cock. A minute to go.
I can't even work out what was going through his mind with that kick.
Seller to Otten. Pokes it towards attacking 50, wide ball, and Knights is within range. And he might take off and play on, but he's on the poor side for a left footer.
He made a late change of his mind and he just pulled the kick late. I don't know what he saw out of the corner of his eye, but unfortunately it didn't hit the right part of the boot. Came off the instep, straight to the opposition turnover, and now they shoot for goal at the other end.
He may have seen a teammate in front of him. He was worried he was going to kick it straight in the back of his head.
Well, from outside the paint has been his forte, and that's ugly.
Big high slice.
It's been pretty good this year in some respects with 22 goals, 5, and
they don't count the out in the fulls, do they, when you've got your conversion rate?
Kicked them out on the full last week as well from similar position.
Very astute.
High kick, Seller can't get a fly at it, and mark's taken by Hislop.
Yeah, good support by the Richmond players around Hislop to give him an opportunity to take the mark.
Tigers don't know how long left. I think there's still a chance to score. Newman. And the turnover almost. John Cox slapped the arm of Revolt there. And it'll be quarter time here at the Gold Coast Stadium at Carrara. Richmond home game. 6th versus 14th on the AFL ladder. And after a 5-0 start, Richmond hit back late. 20 points to margin. Adelaide 5, 3:33. Richmond 2-1, 13. 20-point lead to Adelaide. To start this second term, Vickery and Marich in the ruck. Bounce favours Vickery, palmed it down, but not decisively to Vince. And now Edwards can't break free. Vickery wraps him up. Big pack around this ball up now. Marich, Vickery, front spot again, knocks it down to Adelaide's Thompson. Vince, McLeod, Thompson. Sidestep, then heads long and diving attempt at a mark from Dangerfield.
Good stretch. Dangerfield had a very quiet first term, only the 2 handballs.
And low trajectory kick to Tippett, and he's held it long enough.
Got good strong hands, Kurt Tippett. He's hit that at full pace and still managed to hang on to it long enough to be awarded the mark. He is growing in confidence every week. He really looks like being that big focal point that the Adelaide Crows so desperately need up forward to actually take the next step and be one of the genuine contenders in the competition.
And early in the season, they were probably just bombing it long to him too much, and he was on the big, strong #1 defender. It was very difficult for him, but he got a bit of a break with some other forwards stepping up, and a bit of a run in the ruck has freed him up as well.
That 7-goal game against Essendon was the big breakout game for Kurt Tippett. Can't kick his 3rd for the night tonight. And for those unaware, Adelaide dropped Taylor Walker for this game, and Taylor Walker kicked, well, he kicked at least 6 today for Norwood, playing in the SANFL, had 6 to half time. So he's certainly pushing for selection again next week.
I think Neil Craig was talking about maybe some of his defensive pressures were the main reason he had to go back and have a game in the 2s.
Little toe poke from Cochin. Tigers come up with it. Nahas along the boundary line, turns it over. Rutten. John Cock.
Big numbers on the outside.
So McKay forced to feed back and get it. One-on-one's ahead of him. Just depends on which one he picks. Keeps possession to Vince. That frees up Bock and gives it back. McKay and the turnover.
Oh, he's away here, Tambling. It's a foot race.
So can Tambling outrun John Cock? Takes him on. No, he can't. So he takes off and steps backwards. Deledio. He goes backwards. Adelaide's done well there. Tambling again to reset. Hislop. And ran into Symes, hoping for the 50. Umpire wise to it. Another low trajectory kick that's easy to cut off. Otten.
Poor kick. Just that fumble from Tambling. Ben Rutten was very nervous because he was the only other player inside 50. And I reckon he just thought he may have not had a yard to go with Tambling.
A better kick to Tambling and he was away. He just got a poor bounce.
Symes to Van Berlo towards Knights. Thursfield with him. Knights keeps it in cleverly and keeps it in to Dangerfield. He rolls this all the way across the face.
Just didn't quite grip coming across the square there and kick right. But
do you have to take the type of grass into account when you kick those?
Have a look at the grain before the game.
We'll see if it's power.
Which way it's going towards the water. But as Rowan Smith and you said, Jace, there's not a lot of grass out there, especially you get around the goal square and the boundary line.
A bit bare, isn't it? Well, catch that. That is a bomb.
So Vickery and Marich both attempt the fist. Post, back of the pack. Couldn't quite feed the handball to a teammate. Thompson, Bock, turnover. And Morton got it up.
No one forward long, so have to be a little bit patient here.
So Nahas got on the end of the Hislop kick and gave to Tambling. Now he should seal this. He does. That's the Richard Tambling Richmond fans want to see.
Well, that's the kick he was looking for last time over the other side of the ground. A little chip kick where he didn't have to break stride. This time he gets it from Nahas. Good pressure. Tambling involved in the pressure on Bock, which created the turnover. And then Hislop on this occasion was good. It wasn't a perfect kick, but it was good vision. He found Nahas in space. And look at the chip kick. Tambling did not have to break stride. Continues to run at goal and finishes well. Good reward for the Tigers. They needed the first goal in this second quarter.
Still only 22 years of age. Richard Tambling has sought some help from psychologists about getting over the top of the expectations that came with being picked 4 in the draft behind Delidio, Roughhead and Griffin, and of course being 1 pick ahead of Lance Franklin. Jackson dragged down. Stevens had him wrapped up by the arm. Throw away, holding the ball.
Adelaide Crows are playing a extra player in defence at the moment, so it's left their forward half open.
So Adelaide kicked the first 5 goals of this game. Richmond has kicked the last 3. Tuck, Tambling, bumped off it. Marich, arm held through that out.
Well, good decision, consistency.
There's been some good tackling just over the last few minutes from both teams. Been able to pin the arms and force the turnover through a free kick.
Tambling wide, and Sylvester made the option.
It's a good switch, but there's nothing out there. That's the problem. They almost have to come back the other way.
Shortish kick, and a good kick too, because Post came down and he looks confident being a first gamer.
Not a lot of movement ahead, unfortunately, for the Tigers.
And the zone's in place for the Adelaide Crows, so this is the kick that Adelaide actually want.
Yep.
Leapers can't really get a go at it. Nahas.
Oh, that's a free kick.
Dragged down by Johncock after he got rid of the ball.
That's a dreadful decision.
Yeah, very unlucky there, and the little fella's not happy.
He handballs the ball out in front.
Which you're allowed to do.
And then he just gets tackled by Graham Johncock. Now, Johncock done it cleverly without actually grabbing him. He's just put the arms across him and used momentum to take him down, but it should have been a free kick.
Was that a tackle or a bump with the arms out?
Well, he
fell across him. I reckon he took him out, Wayne.
He wasn't allowed to continue to run.
Oh, it's on here, Marich and Vickery.
At the ball.
Anything in it?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, big Marich has taken on a couple of them.
Yes. Tyrone Vickery does have the kind of hair that looks like it needs ruffling. Symes close to the boundary. Poor pleasure, handball smothered. Collins did well. Throws it back, hoping there was someone there. Polo was there. Now Cochin got it from Thursfield, gives it to Jackson. Post.
He looks a likely type. He's impressed the way he's moved. This is possession number 6 for Jaden Post.
And Sylvester. And the big 24-year-old dumps it long to Morton.
How good must it be for Richmond supporters to see Jaden Post do what he did, then get it to Sylvester?
Oh, that's around the body nicely, although just didn't bend enough. Sorry, Jason.
No, just to see a couple of their big young players getting involved in the play, making good decisions.
And it's been a few years since Richmond have had big young fellas, those 6'5" pluses that are athletic and get around the ground.
Sylvester would be happy to hear you call 24 young.
It's young compared to me. Actually, very young compared to Jace.
Oh, please.
Oh, nice. Takes the mark on 50. And again, well within his repertoire from 50. Loads up long. Tippett thought about a Shepherd, but marks it in the end. And time on because he ran through the behinds and then around the behind post.
We're going to be a little bit tired, Jared Sylvester. He's just had to sprint back from half forward. When he pushed forward and got that ball to Morton, he had to bolt straight back because it was a quick kick out from the behind. found loose players and the ball went forward to Tippett on the goal line. Now he looks like he's going to go the banana.
Little step out here and kicks his third.
And you're spot on, Jace. Sylvester would be very disappointed that he was worn out. The ball did come in long over the back, so it enabled Kurt
the loose
Tippett
players, though, up on the wing ahead from the kick out for a behind. Something went drastically wrong with the Tigers' setup after that behind.
And we saw parts in the first part of the first quarter that work rate was missing, and that's why Adelaide Crows found so much space. Sylvester was still struggling to get back deep when Tippett took the mark.
A bit of moral support. McGuan, poor pleasure.
Don't think it's bothering Kurt Tippett too much. He's just kicked his third. He's feeling pretty good about himself.
Margin back to 21 points. Graham. Marriott still in the middle. Moore dives into it, now dives on it. Now they dive on it. And we'll get a ball up from this. Adelaide Crows with 5 wins in a row coming into this one. So Jade Rawlings and his crew, Wayne Campbell there to the right of screen, knew they would have their work cut out. Adelaide Crows, one of the hottest teams in the competition right now, along with Collingwood. Free kick's been found here for High. Adelaide free. Shirley to the go-to man, Tippett. Little fumble. Polo. Cousins sends it wide. Hislop, boundary line. Too far. No, that was a mark paid. Thought that was out on the full. Back to the man who gave it to him, who gives it back to him. Tambling, messing with it a little. I'll have to come back to go forward here. Newman.
Oh, look out.
Tippett almost tackled Tuck before he had it and stole it from him. Back in there. Poor pleasure. Throws it up McLeod. Stevens, he's in position A. And he marks 20 from goal. Stevens took off there. It was a 50-50 ball in the congestion, and he thought, well, I'll back my boys in here. Took off toward goal, and they won the possession and got it to him.
Some smart movement. He wasn't just spectating. He knew that if turnover was there, he had to get into space, and did very nicely.
And he doesn't kick his second.
Just poked at that one.
That's where he ran straight out to the right, stabbed at it.
Stabbed at it. We were chatting before how he's been a more than useful player back and forward in the key positions when needed. But want to make the most of those opportunities. Just make sure you stay in this side.
Newman to McGuan, wide. Little fumble. Jackson gave it back to Delidio. He had that initial fumble. And again, handballs in the middle might bring them unstuck. Hislop, half tackle when he didn't have it. Goes back in, gets it. Polo, Tambling, Newman, Cousins. Is that an inside 50 for Adelaide? Jackson sends it wide. Polo.
Good thing there is Richmond had big numbers to support the ball carrier. They've used the ball by the hands and haven't been able to kick it until that situation.
That's a good grab, Otten. It is. He's going to find it tough to win the NAB Rising Star Award, given the form of Daniel Rich, who's the favourite, but has had an outstanding season. Andy Otten, one of the players nominated for Adelaide this year. John Cock wide. Strong grab from Shirley, who was best on ground last time these two teams met. Got the 3 Brownlow votes in that round 19 win by Adelaide at Amy Stadium. Now another high bomb for Tippett. Douglas floats in, takes the mark. That'll do.
It's a good grab from Douglas across the front of the pack there. Kurt Tippett had already done all the hard work and got rid of his direct opponent in Sylvester and was about to take a nice mark, but very nice work by Douglas across the front. So he gets rid of Sylvester there, or that one, and just ready to take a nice little chest mark, and the little forward crummer just comes across and takes a nice one.
Crows kept their milestone winning record intact last week when they won the game for Richard Douglas's 50th. That's what he has ahead of him, and he's got all the skills. Richard Douglas, margin back out to 28.
And the tackling pressure was evident in that situation with the Adelaide Crows in the lead up to this mark by Douglas, but they managed to put an enormous amount of pressure on Richmond, made them handball the ball and over-possess the ball. In the end, it was a forced kick long and caused a turnover. Otten took a very nice mark, but then flow of the ball forward, and they had a few options in the end in the forward 50 and resulted in a goal.
We'll call him the second best player ever from Broadford right now.
Number 1 being Baz?
Barry Hall.
Big Barry.
He's been in the press.
He has been
quite a bit the last couple of weeks.
For a bit of Broady action, I reckon.
Dowdy. Van Berlo. He heads wide, Tippett all the way up to the flank. And he's marked that inside the line, if not on it. So they've got plenty of options down there at the moment. Little arm slap on McKernan, not paid the mark, lays the tackle. Holding the ball, so a win for either McLeod or McKernan. McLeod the first to tackle.
He got nailed there, Ben Cousins, just trying to step back in between and set something up. Andrew McLeod just as good defensively as he is attacking.
So will he try and pinpoint a pass here? He does to the pocket, pinpoints Vickery. Game number 3 for Ty Vickery. His father played VFL for Collingwood, but not enough games.
Oh, I don't like where this is going to end up.
For the father-son rule to be invoked. Just the 4 games for Collingwood. Big fly on the outer side, and Graham couldn't bring it down. Boundary line looming for Morton. Still got a hold of him. Morton's free.
And that was a lucky break for the Richmond side. Adelaide Crows had their zone in place, and just slow ball movement was always going to be very difficult to get out, and still may be out of their defensive half. A good run.
So Morton got it back again, gave to Nahas. Uses his speed to zip-zap through traffic. Delidio. Now he sends it long. Jackson got it.
Gee, that's good play. That's what Jade Rawlings wants the Tigers to do. Take them on. We saw a quick chain of hand passes beginning at half-back. And that was just brilliant. Yes, it was under pressure, but it was slick, it was fast, and then all of a sudden it opened up. Nahas had space to run in, he took them on, and then he found Delidio in space, and he kicked it long to a one-out Daniel Jackson. Very hard for defenders when they're running back towards goal. You just saw Otten get caught out there.
He's normally a reasonably good kick, field kicking wise, but he's had no luck with his goal kicking this year. Daniel Jackson, he's kicked 0-5.
Pencil it in.
That's what he has. Finally gets his first of the year.
Jade Rawlings would say to the guys like Nahas, every time you take possession, put it under your wing, back yourself in, feel free to take a bounce every time you get the ball, and try to penetrate the forward half. And in the end, it was great work from him. Great kick from Delidio to have that penetration on the left foot to carry the defender. And as you said, Otten had to turn and go back with the flight. And he was out of position then. It was a good mark, good goal.
Back to 22 points.
Just managing to stay in touch after looking like they were going to get blown out of the water very early on, the Tigers. They're hanging in there.
James Seller in game 2 for the Adelaide Crows up against, it's a little high, almost a Freddie Shirley, up against Vickery. And Adelaide with Douglas get the clearance of sorts of Thompson.
If he knew Thompson was there, it was a genius kick.
Yeah. And that's a genius kick as well.
Low trajectory.
A big if, Lynchy.
So good chance here for McKernan to kick his first. Gee, that's a launch.
Flush that.
And it's marked on the line, plays on, and he's got 4. Kirk Tippett.
He's killing him.
He's having a party back home.
Young McKernan, good lead, penetrating kick. He's spent some games with the Calder Cannons last year playing centre forward, full forward. Also, he's got the athleticism and the tank to play in the ruck as well. But that is a very long kick.
A little bit of Corey in the kick, wasn't there?
A lot of penetration. But once again, if you get that depth in your kick, you get over the back of the zone or back of the defenders. And that was some good work by Kurt Tippett. Some poor work on the goal line by Richmond.
So Tippett with 4. Interestingly enough, Sean McKernan, given that he is the brother of two-time North Melbourne Premiership player. North Melbourne had the chance to grab Sean McKernan, but they took Sam Wright with pick 27 in the draft, and then Adelaide took McKernan pick 28, the pick after. Tuck sends it to half forward, big leap, revolt, and Bok, solid as ever, just stands his ground and takes the mark. Thompson and Nahas, I just shrugged him there.
Too strong.
Giving away about 30 kilos there, I would have thought.
Thompson, Seller, the 1-2. Sends it long, hoping for poor Pleasure, who was up from 4 deep. Vickery, it was a long way down there. Then he slung after he got rid of it. Umpire says no, ball up.
Richmond are pushing massive players back in that defensive 50 just to try to stop the leads of Dangerfield, Paul Pleasure, Stevens, Tippett, just finding a little bit much space when they actually do go back into their forward 50.
We're about to kick into time on, second term. And Polo dragged down, going nowhere. Another ball up. If you joined us late, Adelaide kicked the first 5 goals of this game, and Richmond has done pretty well since, although they're down 1 player. Nathan Foley, chance to sit this one out. Rowan Smith will give us an update at half-time as Post, first gamer, in a battle with Poor Pleasure, and Jaden Post did reasonably well there. Ball in.
Well, Dwayne, the quarter has nearly been going 20 minutes. Nathan Foley's probably run past me 5 or 6 times trying to get back out in the field. But he's just, as I said before, he's noticeably limping. But he's trying his hardest to get back out there, boys, but doesn't look good.
Dangerfield. He got that beautifully to McKay. And now Thompson with a high bomb. Stevens, Tippett. Oh, Revolt getting back in defence. Lending a hand at fullback to Graham. Doughty with the fist. Graham a little tap on. Revolt, second possession in this string of play to Cousins, who takes them on. Puts Tuck under pressure though. Thompson dragged him down. Shirley out there trying to rake it free, and almost did. Ball up, outer side, half forward flank for Adelaide.
Just needed to give the first one, Ben Cousins. Yep. Tried to do a little bit too much on that occasion. They had the overlap, a couple of quick hand passes, they could have been away. Just
sort of stat on the clearances, 7-1 in favour of Adelaide in this term, so they've really turned that around.
Free kick, James Seller. And again, throws it up, and that's way wide. So Jaden Post to get the free, and there's Foley on the bike. And you'd be excited about that starting tonight, Jason.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'll tell you what, James Seller needs to work on his kicking. He's only had the 3 kicks tonight. Only 1 has hit the target. So he's operating at 33%, and that is way too low.
Yeah, just try to kick that one quickly off a couple of steps.
Jackson. It's a little pop-up pass. Tuck. 28 points the margin. 21 minutes gone, second term. 6th versus 14th on the AFL ladder. The Tigers hanging in there. Jaden Post again.
But this is where Adelaide are very good. They come across so quickly that you don't get the overlap when you switch direction, and you've got to go back where you came from. This is dangerous now.
And it's partly because Richmond are slow when they bring it across the field. That's a terrible kick.
Well, he is known more for his marking than his kicking. Jaden Post, as this one sent back by Vince towards Stevens. Bumped out of it. Tuck. Revolt. Graham. Post. It's another chance here. Uses the hand. Delidio went back towards Revolt. Lays the tackle on Douglas, who didn't have it. So fairly sloppy last couple of minutes. Adelaide by 28. Graham. Palm down. Tuck. Jackson. Wobbler. Morton did well. Tapped it through his legs. What he thought was his own advantage, but John Cock quickly to Van Berlo, Alton, McKay, and now McLeod on the open side. Rutten can get it to him, and McLeod can run, can take on Sylvester, pokes it over the top. Vince, Bok, Thompson. Adelaide at their best here, throws it up long, hoping for the mark target. Tippett can't mark it. McGuan caught by Douglas. Revolt. They've got 2 loose men in defence at the moment, the Tigers.
There's plenty back there. Very hard take contested grab for the Crows.
Edwards tracks it down, dives on it. got it out. Stevens. Van Berlo might have a shot. McLeod towards Stevens. Edwards trying to steal it. Gave it back again to Shirley. Through legs. Polo somehow came up with it. And now to space. Tigers need to use the space. Cousins took on Doughty. Bad move. Knockout by McKay. Shirley came through hard. To Edwards. To Marriage. 50 from goal. Tried the handball. Stevens. He's gang tackled and dragged down by Edwards.
Been caught a few times tonight, Ben Cousins. He knew what he needed to do then. He had numbers in the middle of the ground. He was desperate to get back there, but he just couldn't get past the fantastic tackles from Doughty.
Great tackle and execution by Doughty. He gave Cousins his left foot and gave him the outside, but Cousins wanted to get back on the right through the corridor and got caught with the ball.
Delidio to Jackson to Tuck. And a dive and a one-handed gully catch by Tambling. Sends it back inboard Edwards. Cousins mops up his mess. Revolt. 3 minutes from half-time.
Foley's on.
Good contest that. Hislop against John Cochin.
And he's still on if they can get it to him.
Delidio. Hislop shoots it back again. Edwards straight through traffic. Sends it long. Morton with the one hand.
Well, we've seen the best and worst from Shane Edwards in the last few minutes. He's made a couple of horrible skill errors. Very poor kick in the first quarter. Dropped a very simple mark moments ago. But on that occasion, he just played instinctive footy. Took the bit between the teeth. Attacked it. Took a couple of Crows players on. And then drove it long to the advantage of Morton.
He knows a lot of these players well. Shane Edwards, a North Adelaide player from the SANFL. His father, a star with Central Districts in the SANFL all those years ago. So playing against the players he knows well. And Morton drags the margin back to 22.
I was about to say, Lynchy, if he was on the other side of the ground, he probably would have played on. But if you can kick set shots like that, why wouldn't you? Look at this skill from Richard Tambling. Just roped it in one hand. Brilliant. Nice
little catch. And we just see when the skills are on, the execution of the skills are on for the Tigers through the middle of the ground, there's a lot of pressure from the Crows, but when they're on, they're getting it through the forward 50 and kicking it in long. And if you've got a one-on-one contest, that's all you can ask as a forward. Morton was good enough to take a mark and kick the goal.
Morton with his first. Rowan Smith.
Well, boys, Lynchy, as you mentioned, Nathan Foley did come back on the ground, was probably on his own for about 45 seconds. They just couldn't hit him up. He's actually moved himself to full forward. So maybe today, instead of him being the possession winner, he can finish off with some goals up the forward line for Richmond.
Yeah, still a worry for mine, Smithy. I don't know that he's going to be the answer at full forward when you're 4'3".
No, yeah, and especially he's limping still too. I'm just watching him now, and he's
actually
limping
noticeably limping. You're right.
He's limping badly. I don't think he'll stay on the ground for too long at all.
McLeod looks up. Now he's got McKay in space. If it bounces it away, he's away and all the way. Instant reply, margin back out to 28.
Instant reply is spot on, Duano, and the Adelaide Crows have been able to do that on the last two occasions that the Tigers have scored. They quickly go back down the other end, and just through very hard work and run, their players find space very well. And if they get any sort of space in their forward 50, they kick the goal. So good work from the Adelaide Crows. They keep answering the challenges coming from Richmond in this second term.
Played 33 games now. David McKay had an elite kicking efficiency as a junior, which is something they track now. And keep an eye on all 16, 17, 18-year-old players as we see another rebounds here. But often players coming into the AFL in their first year find the pressure is that great. That kicking efficiency drops as it did with David McKay. But boy, is he confident with both feet now as we see a free here. And an important 1 minute 30 coming up.
Well,
Tuck's free.
If they could sneak another one.
Dangerous kick.
Post.
Adelaide Crows have initiated the two loose men in defence here, so there's a massive players in the forward 50 for Richmond. Very hard to mark these long ones.
And Jackson and Marriage go at it. Marriage had a piece of it. Graham shoots the handball out. John Cock got it from Van Berlo. Rutten Symes, Bock, Otten. Well worked. Thumps it long. Poor pleasure. There might be a chance to score here, Adelaide. Richmond now getting players back quickly. Could be cut off by Jackson. Got a fingernail on it. Ball still alive. McKernan had it but lost it. And we'll get a ball in. 45 seconds left on the clock.
That's what the Adelaide Crows do very well. If they do play, as we see, the limp on Foley there, he's really struggling and he's just going to go try to camp back out at full forward. But that's where you need all your mobility back there. Adelaide Crows run their loose players out of defence very well. They spread well.
Thompson towards Dangerfield. Couldn't take the mark. Moore.
Good kick.
Straight down the middle to Nahas. A chance here for the Tigers. They need a mark inside 50. Hislop needs to hit a target. Does. So he's back on. And not too bad, Foley. Short, Morton. So they might get the instant reply to the instant reply.
That's what they need. One just before half-time. Get it back to that 22-point margin. And you think you're close enough to actually make a charge. Nathan Foley's a terrific kick. Look, I don't think he's going to get much of the footy, but if they could get it in his hands, he does use it okay.
As we said, Jace, if he can go forward, he'll be very dangerous.
Margin stands at 28 right now.
Big kick.
Already kicked one moments ago. For his 28th of the season. Gizzards and Sky. Across the face ever so slightly. But after the Adelaide Crows kicked the first 5 goals of this game, the Tigers have made it a contest. It stands at 27 at half-time. Adelaide 9-6-60, Richmond 5-3-33. Normally if there's a Brisbane Lions game on here, even if they're playing as the away team, that grandstand is full. But it's the Tigers' home game. And they come in with a 3-10 record up against the Adelaide Crows, 8-5. Underway in the second half. Jackson wrapped up. There's that one-arm tackle again. Can't get it out. Ball.
Good tackle to start with. Scotty Thompson, strong body, and a very nice tackle to get the free kick to start with.
And again, Rutten allowed to run off half-back.
And that's probably because the Adelaide forwards are dropping right off to try to clog up their forward line.
Edwards, who just keeps on keeping on. Likewise, Doughty. They don't miss many games. Michael Doughty, every game the past 2 seasons, and again this year. And Edwards has only missed 3 games in the past 9 seasons. So they keep on keeping on. They've got a great system, Adelaide. They're one of the super clubs now. They've got a great medical system in place as Vince pokes this to half forward, and the mark's taken by Van Berlo. He heads wide, Tippett, half fly. Stevens with the crumb, gets it up to post, dragged towards the boundary line, can't break free, and we'll get a ball up. I'm talking about the Crows being a super club. They've never won less than 8 games in a season. This is their 19th season in the AFL. Never won less than 8 games. They've always been thereabouts, even in the years where they've missed the 8. Graham tries to shoot it out. Poor pleasure. Got an arm free. Got a boot free. Shirley held on to. One-on-one with Cousins, and it's Cousins' ball. Shirley did the holding on him.
Well, Cousins did well to push back into the contest, and Shirley, with not a lot of effort, pulled him out of the way. So the free kick was probably there. A little bit unlucky, though.
I think Shirley's history as a tagger got him there. The umpires knew exactly who he was and what he normally does.
It's good to see Brett Delidio going over and apologising to Luke McGuan, because he gave him a terrible hand pass, put him under all sorts of pressure. There's Robert Shirley just slinging Cousins out of the way.
He's a bit stiff.
Cousins lays the tackle on Thompson. We'll get another ball up on attacking 50.
Sorry, mate. Tuck is starting on the bench as well in this quarter, averaging 28 disposals. Also, Nathan Foley still running up and down the boundary line, trying to get back onto the field as he did at the end of that second quarter, boys.
2 ruckmen tie up. Polo comes up with the Sheeran. Delidio, Polo, Newman, Cousins, Tambling. A lot of possessions haven't necessarily gone anywhere. Delidio does go somewhere to Edwards. feeds it in, looking for Cochin. Turnover, John Cock. Got it back to Otten. Little fumble from him. Uncharacteristic fumble. Edwards, John Cock, Doughty. Now to the open side to Bock. He's got Knights for the long bomb. Douglas, Knights, and Douglas caught out of it by Knights well. Poor Pleasure at half forward. Needs to go here. Big leap, but the fall from Polo. Ball back alive again. Moore to post. Shoots it wide. Bouncing ball. Revolt boundary line will do. Almost threw that across.
Well, Dean Polo got very lucky there. If you're going to fly for the mark from behind, you've either got to take the mark or you're going to be in all sorts of trouble. The ball spilled free, could have gone anywhere. Lucky that a teammate was there to back him up.
Graham and Marich in the ruck. Marich down, but to Cochin. Tackled well, dropped it. Newman can't go forward, goes back. Cousins tucked against the boundary line. Good pass. Morton.
Great delivery, and that's just what's been missing over the last few minutes, that great execution of the skills to hit targets from Richmond.
They can send this to the square, wants a pass option, and Revolt's the man.
He did that well, Mitch Morton. He looked like he was running himself into trouble. There were no long options. He held onto the ball, and he took a couple of them on, and in the end, he just waited for a one-out battle between Jack Revolt and Nathan Bock to appear, and that's the tremendous left-foot pass from Ben Cousins. That set it all up. But then some great work from Morton to eventually spot Revolt on the short lead.
Well, he's been hot and cold, Jack Revolt. He was good and bad early last week. Some great marks and some poor shots. And again, the kicking lets him down here.
A good build-up from Richmond. They've just got to get that result on the scoreboard. Otherwise, just very deflating for the players up the field that have worked so hard and possessed the ball so many times, actually get it into the forward half.
Marich and Graham, third in, couldn't take the mark. Rutten throws out a handball to McLeod, and somehow he got that from Polo. Bock. And now Stevens in the box seat, had a piece of it, had enough of it. Gives to Douglas, he looks up, plenty of options. Knights will do, got a hand to it, tip at the crumb, slick pickup, gives to Knights, he's on the left, and a wobbler. Only a behind.
And some good work from young Post going back with the fly of the ball to spoil that. And speaking of good work, young Kurt Tippett just...
throw?
Oh, very quick hands, I would have thought. Right hand just out to his
Too quick for my eyes.
He's playing with Adelaide Crows. They have a history of just flicking them out.
Perfected it. 27 points the margin.
Ooh, trouble.
Turnover almost. Stevens was averted. Thursfield gives it up. Newman back to Moore. Playing with fire at the moment. They get away with it. Cochin wide. And Nahas can go. No one to kick to, though. Feeds back inside. Morton running towards goal. Nahas likewise. Looks up. Morton comes back in his direction. Over his head, but he's half spent now, Morton. Doughty corrals into the line. We'll get a ball in. They did lead by 32 points, the Adelaide Crows. Kicked the first 5 goals of the game. Currently stands at 27.
And the skill execution wasn't there for Nahas, but at least he took on the tackler, ran, took a bounce. Just nothing opened up at the other end.
Yeah, it's okay to get lots of players behind the ball, and Richmond are doing that. They're endeavouring to clog it up at the other end, but once you do win possession, you've got to run and spread. You've got to get guys that can push both ways, really gut run into space. He just had no options.
Yeah, well, that's where Adelaide Crows are so good. And we watch this situation where they've got big numbers back. If they gain possession, they'll run and spread very quickly.
Here they go.
So Tambling's ball cut off by Van Berlo. And play on advantage as Rutten wasn't all that happy. Threw his man away. In the meantime, John Cox on the move and got it and goes.
If John Cox was back in the goal square then. He's worked extremely hard to get into space.
McLeod. Oh, clever. One way than the other, maybe too clever. Poor Pleasure, brilliant. John Cox, and now one-on-ones ahead. Poor Pleasure, he could go the journey here. Thinks about it from the paint, runs inside to 45, spears toward goal. Splendid to watch. Vintage Crows.
That was a case in point there, Jace, how they ran and spread. Have a look at...
Ben Rutten.
A little bit off the ball, nothing too much there.
Little body one. He was on the receiving end last week.
He was, but it was that run. And there's some very talented players thought their way through this. McLeod was one, John Cock was another. Poor Pleasure, as we see, runs into the forward 50 with so much composure, thinks his way through it and just puts it straight through. Nice work on the line.
Just before we get a resumption here, show you the score from Etihad Stadium, Hawthorn and the Dogs. And no, it's not April Fool's Day. Western Bulldogs kicked the first 13 goals of that game.
Well, the good thing there, Jason, is they've scored a goal now.
Edwards out wide. Yes, Hawthorn director Jason Dunstall enjoying this game more than he would have enjoyed that one. Doughty.
Starting to enjoy this one a hell of a lot.
That's right. Edwards short. Mind you, you do have to go home at some stage. Marriage.
I may not now.
McLeod. Uh-oh.
Oh, yeah, didn't see him from behind.
And threw that away, surely.
Why is that not a free kick?
Well, maybe the tackle didn't stick, but he certainly dropped the ball. Play on. Hislop forced to give it up. Delidio. Jackson. Got Nahas short. Impossible ball. Rutten. Otten. McKay. And they're only in the corridor at the moment. Back to Otten. Now the ball towards Stevens. To the space side. And it was always his.
Richmond are working so hard to get the ball back off the Adelaide Crows. When they get it back, they just haven't got the energy or the will to run and spread into space, and they look up to kick forward and there's no one there.
To make it 39 points the margin. Biggest lead of the game. Stevens has 2. 39-point break for the Crows.
Well, it continues the tough initiation of Jared Sylvester. No free kick there, and I'm not quite sure how he got rid of it. Thought he was held long enough. It was the tackle that spilled the ball free, but Jared Sylvester started on Kurt Tippett. He's been relieved of those duties. He's now gone on to Scott Stevens, and he just got caught sagging off the sides. A terrific kick. A very, very good kick.
Chance to keep their unbeaten record here intact, the Adelaide Crows. Jade Rawlings, who is in that queue of people that continues to get bigger and bigger that want to coach Richmond next year, including Kevin Sheedy. And Jade Rawlings has his work cut out in this second half now. Free kick to the Tigers, a rare one. Delidio, who really needs to become Richmond's Goodwin or Wayne Campbell or Bradley, take your pick. They're relying on him. Nahas takes the mark inside 50.
Just a little bit of work off the ball to mean that Otten couldn't get his fist on that ball, and Nahas taking the handy chest mark.
Cousins coming off for a rest. Nahas kicked one to this end in the opening term. They had the first shot at goal of the night, which gave Richmond their only lead of the night. That was a 1-point lead, which soon was taken from them, and he squeezes it in. His second.
Certainly not Richmond's worst player, Robin Nahas. He's been lively. He's attacked at every opportunity, takes them on. And sometimes it's just the old-fashioned penetrating kick deep into the attacking 50 that can give forwards an opportunity. A little bit of misjudgment from the big fellas, and it went over the back to the small forward who read the play better. And a good finish. He's kicked 2 goals now, and they can use a few more from him.
Probably worth checking with Rowan Smith in the next few minutes. David McKay come off the ground a few minutes. It looks like he was carrying his left shoulder, Smithy, so it might be worth having a look to see if there's any damage that's going to keep him out of the game.
Yeah, Lynch, he just came from the bench. He's just speaking to the doctor now. He definitely was carrying that left shoulder, so I'll keep you updated in the next couple of minutes, mate.
Vickery won the knock from the ball up, but Thompson won the clearance. Adelaide to half forward, and Port Pleasure with a free kick. 60 from goal.
McLeod's just sneaking down into the forward pocket. Just didn't quite see him in time.
Edwards. Too far out for him to score, you'd think.
Yeah, he's been a good player against Richmond last 7 games, he's averaged 25 disposals a game against the Tigers.
And this might be beyond his 33-year-old leg, although it's not 33 until August.
And there's not much movement from the forwards, so they're backing him in.
That's what he has ahead of him. Gives some air, bends it back, touched on the line. McWan. Now it's called a behind here, I think.
Just depends what hit the post.
It looked like it squeezed the ball. There was a hand in between the ball and the post, which would have been play on, essentially. But the umpires confirmed that it did hit the post. Check it out again. Yeah, I thought there was hands in between, but umpires have the last say. It's in the book. Cochin. Morton feeds back after that handball.
Good run.
Cochin. Collins back into the team this week. Deledio and Morton, who fed onto that spot. Tuck. Turnover. Handball was behind Collins. Dangerfield. Douglas. Otten. Edwards can't get there. And the mark taken by Kelvin Moore. Takes off from half back. Pops the kick wide. Tambling. Gathers on the wing. Cut off. Boundary line was there. Stopping him. Collins. Ball bounced unkindly for him. Thompson had it. Dumped by Collins. No free kick. Stevens tried to turn out of it. Sylvester turned into it. Got it up to Collins again. Dispossessed. Jackson again gets it out. Tambling from 50. Loads up from the paint. Sends it long and misses.
Richmond teammates just waving their hands in the centre corridor, just saying, maybe just have a look.
Ball. $33 points the margin. Takes on Nahas. That's danger here. John Cock, Morton, the steal. Nahas should go from here. He can run in, open the angle, and sends it home. He's got 3.
He's been one of the really exciting players for Richmond so far in this game. His speed, his will to take on the tacklers, and he's got a bit of skill about him too. So some good pressure here to cause a turnover. Good work from Morton. Got the ball out in front of Nahas, and as he's starting to do so much in recent weeks, he puts the ball to ground and carries the ball and runs very hard.
Wonderful reward these days, isn't it? You kick a couple of goals, then you come and spend some time on the bench. Straight on the phone.
This game number 11 for Robin Nahas, 21 years of age though, so has some maturity. Pulled into the team from Port Melbourne and really has given them something. Edwards dragged down by Newman. Jackson inboard to Hislop. Deledio, high bomb, goal square, 1-on-1. Morton to Shepherd, 3 in a row for the Tigers.
Well, it all started with some great pressure in the middle of the ground. Tyson Edwards looked like he was going to have another clearance for the Adelaide Crows, but a terrific tackle stripped him of the ball, advantage paid, and it ended up with Brett Deledio. That's a good finish on the run, but it wouldn't have happened without some terrific work on the goal line from Mitch Morton. You see Chris Newman, he grabbed the arm, made it impossible for Edwards to kick or hand pass, and then this is a great finish off a couple of steps. Terrific shepherding by Morton.
Game number 98 for Brett Deledio, 100th in a couple of weeks against North Melbourne. That'll be at the MCG, given that Richmond play their next 7 games at the MCG before their final game of the year against the West Coast at Subiaco. So a nice run of home games at home, as opposed to this one, a home game on the Gold Coast. Seller tosses it back and will go again. 21 points the margin.
And getting a little bit physical out there.
Well, the game's alive again.
It is.
Cochin caught high, free kick, Tigers.
Yeah, well, effectively another clearance to the Tigers. As we saw in the latter part of this first term, they started to get control in the clearance situation. They're doing it again now, the Tigers.
To Cousins, to Tuck, caught, tried to get that backward, missed the target. Douglas over the top, Crows on the rebound. McLeod put it in the book. He's made longer putts.
No, it's just through Adelaide Crows. We've seen and said so many times today. Through Adelaide Crows' pressure, they pushed big numbers up at the ball carrier, and the handball wasn't a good one, and that caused the spillage. And in the end, it was just a waltz in the park for Andrew McLeod. Just wandered in, kicked the barrel from the top of the goal square, and put it out of the ground. Very nice work, but all came from a turnover caused by pressure.
He's put that into the water on the Gold Coast.
Yeah, I think that's on the par 4 15th at Royal Pines.
We know Ben Cousins works hard, but sometimes those running around the back to get the hand pass puts everyone else under pressure. He was confronted with 3, hand passed over the top to Tuck, put Tuck under enormous pressure, turnover goal, and all the momentum that Richmond had just built is gone.
Yeah, Adelaide were a wake-up to that's exactly what he was planning to do. Paul Pleasure wide. Ball thumped away from McKernan. Catches it again, caught, got it away, tip it. Well, he's already got 4, and he kicks this across the face. And Douglas throws his hands in the air and says, what about me?
And Dwayne Nathan Foley's just come back onto the ground 20 minutes into this third quarter. So he's having another go, boys. He's moved up forward. He's still limping, though, so, but he's having a go.
I would say it's just to help with the rotations, to give a couple of the on-ballers a few minutes of a spell on the bench, and he'll be back off again.
Rewalt with the kick-in duties, not his normal job. It was a big 70-metre launch, but Adelaide come up with it. Shirley to Bock. Tough ball for Tippett to Mark. McGuan was right with him. Rewalt scoops it up. Newman to Cousins. Dowdy on the mark. Ticked into time on third term. 28 points the margin. Nahas. 2 goals in this term, 3 for the game. Help the Tigers back. Cousins. There's that little one around the back you spoke of, but this one opens it up nicely. Thursfield. Graham. A lull. Kick and hope. Morton can't get there, and Marriage does with the spoil. Morton got there for the crumb. Stevens toward the boundary line. Tackle laid by Post. No free kick. Stevens, boundary line was his friend. We'll get a ball in.
You see David Mackey.
McKay.
McKay. I'm going out. That's 3 I've tried now. What is it?
McKay.
McKay. Well, I'll stay with that. He's back on the ground anyway, and his shoulder seems good, which is very good news for the Crows.
As opposed to Andrew Mackey and Swan Mackay. Stevens takes the mark. Depends on which state you come from, Alistair. It makes it tough. Sends it wide. And Dowdy takes his chance, as it would be. Close to the boundary line, and half-back holds it up. 6 minutes left on the clock. Symes. Thompson coming off for a rest for Adelaide. 19 possessions to this point in the game. Dangerfield back on. In a dangerous time now. 28 points as it stands. Tigers played their way back into contention. Symes on back flank to the other Johncock. Well, he waited. It didn't quite come. So Post corrals him here. Almost a turnover. Sylvester. Dangerfield. Fresh legs just off the bench.
They're trying their best to turn over here, the Crows.
Rutten.
Slowed the game down.
Jaden Post working overtime on the mark. Forces him back. So Bock at full back. We tick down to 5 minutes. Adelaide playing a little bit of possession footy, just to own it again. Some momentum back their way. Dangerfield. No one really comes at him. Heads wide and Doughty. Nahas to spoil. It was too late. McKernan. First gamer, little fumble.
A little bit hard with the hands.
And that happens first up. A little bit nervous perhaps. Delidio cut off. Poor pleasure. Van Berlo, McKay, Hislop slips it out the tuck, sends it towards attacking 50. Tough ball to gather, bouncing ball, slap down was, well, okay from Foley, except Doughty cut it off.
He's in trouble, Foley. He's going to come back off. He attacked the footy, and now he's hobbling really badly and heading straight for the bench.
So Stevens to Edwards, who beat Cousins, and now Knights with some space. Tippett calls for a short. Knights takes them on, gives to McLeod. He sends it towards the square. It was touched. Poor pleasure. Spoil from behind. McKernan, little shovel out. McKay, he sends it around the body. Gives it some sky. Goal umpire does some dancing. But it's there.
That's Lynchy's man, David McKay. A terrific stab over the shoulder. Just persistence. There's Nathan Foley. He was in all sorts of trouble after he attacked the footy that last time going forward. And it took him a long time to get off. He was hobbling badly. This is persistence. Adelaide Crows keeping the ball alive, just tapping it back into a dangerous area. And David McKay turning beautifully. That's a great snap. Very close to the post, wasn't it? Just snuck in behind.
Just behind it.
Look at the goal umpire in perfect position.
They made hard work of that one, the Adelaide Crows. Just chipped the ball around and drew Richmond out. In the end, it was probably the drop mark that made them play on, move the ball quicker.
Marriage the clearance to half forward. Edwards scoots through half back. Polo. Revolt. And spears this to half forward. Pack collapses. Collins. Oh, Cochin dropped it. Forced to go back in and get it. Back to Collins. Turnover costly there. Van Berlo. Graham. Hislop dives over the top of it. Back to Tuck. They keep it alive. Collins dragged down. Dangerfield. Nahas. Graham a little too slick. Cousins came in. Tuck. Toward full forward. Vince dumps it down. John Cock. Otten. Back to Vince. A wobbler. And Moore takes the mark. 2.5 minutes from three-quarter time. 34 points the margin. Moore bangs it along. And Graham can't get a run at it. Hislop. Well, he ducked into the tackle. And umpire gives him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, dropped in that one and tried to draw the high contact, and probably a bit lucky in the end not to give away the free kick.
Sometimes the umpire deems that that was your prior opportunity. The fact that you ducked into it. Tunnelled out, dragged back in. Cochin. Ball up. 2:11 on the clock. Doughty's lost the boot. And the ball up.
Daniel Jackson has snuck forward. He's in space if they win the clearance. Unfortunately, they don't.
Bock, Thompson, McKay. Along the boundary, good hands, Poor Pleasure.
Good jump and leap for Paul Pleasure. He's not an overly tall man, but marks well above his head.
Play on. A few options back if he wants. Stevens, the recipient. He has Rutten. And he has Symes.
Straight off the bench. Nothing better than that sort of possession.
And he has Vince. Heads toward Knights. Good spoil. Dropped out of play and will get a ball in. 1:20 on the clock.
Yeah, good spoil from Polo on that occasion to knock the ball clear over the boundary line.
Tippett does some ruck work. Vickery with him. Ball out towards Thompson. Knights, good pick up on the move. Vince, Symes, Edwards. It opens up here to Doughty, who can run in and have the shot. Bounces for him. He runs to 60, thinks about the shot, heads to the pocket. Tippett, he's been the man all night, and he might be the man with the last kick of the quarter.
That was good work from Adelaide Crows to switch it across. We talk about Richmond, how they slowly move the ball from one side of the ground to the other, but the Crows used it quickly and left space in the forward 50 for Kurt Tippett to run out into that space and take a mark, give him a shot on goal about 30 metres out, 45-degree angle, line up for his fifth.
Yeah, the supplies just dried up a little bit for him in the third quarter, but a great opportunity here to make the most of a rare lead into space.
2 goals in the opening term to that end. He now has 5 for the game. Crows by 40.
Proving to be quite a handful up there, and he seems very comfortable at the level now. As we said, hasn't had a lot of experience at AFL level, or AFL coming from the basketball background, but he, like his young brother at the Brisbane Lions, Joel Tippett, on the rookie list, developing into quite good athletic ruckman forward, and Kurt's having a big night in good conditions, kicking 5 goals.
Biggest margin of the game now, 40 points. Time enough for a takeaway and a score here. 16 seconds left. Seller reaches over the top. Edwards cut off by Tambling. Umpire Damien Sully with the last bounce, and barring something ridiculous, free kick in the ruck and 50 perhaps. It'll be 3/4 time. So Jackson to Newman to the siren. And the Adelaide Crows looking to make it 6 victories in a row to keep their top 4 chances alive by 40 points at 3/4 time. 14-9, 93 to 8-5, 53. Foley won't take any further part in the game. What makes it almost more unbelievable, the Ben Rutten, Nathan Bock story, is where they came from. Ben Rutten, he played forwards at Cup games as a rookie list player back in 2002, but then had to wait for over a season before he got a senior game. So Neil Craig made him wait his time. And Nathan Bock, another player overlooked in the draft, rookie listed, and from the rookie list becomes an All-Australian. And they have become an unbelievable combination who've really had to work to get where they are. Nathan Bock, at one stage, was told to cut off his dreadlocks if he wanted to be a proper player, put the surfboard in the shed, and become a footballer.
He obviously did it. They're wonderful stories when you can get something like that to happen with rookies. We see Tambling coming off, and no one has come on for Richmond.
They may have had 19 out there by the look of it.
That's interesting.
Speaking of dreadlocks, Ty Vickery with the dreadlocks in the ruck. So you're counting them up, Lynchy?
Yeah, well, there's still 18 out there. We're just looking down at the interchange steward to see if there's going to be any decisions made. No. It looks like they've given the all clear. He got off in time.
Yeah. Absolutely. Now Polo comes off and Tambling can get back on the ground, but that would have been amazing if they started with 19 on the ground and actually played with 19 for a while.
Well, they would have been better off just staying with 19 out there and hoping no one found out. As soon as you bring someone off and no one comes on, you give the game up. Knights, he might give this game up right now. He could push the margin out to 46.
And you'll never guess who was playing on Knights.
Well, Tambling was still trying
Polo
to run up there.
Came off, let Tambling come on. He couldn't get back in time.
Well, you'd suggest with Polo coming straight off the ground that he was the one that didn't pay attention in the meeting at 3/4 time to see where he was starting. So it'll be an interesting one.
Might be a nice little find too from the AFL.
So Knights, just the 1 goal so far tonight. It is the saddest part of a game of AFL footy when all hope dies. And all hope for Richmond now dead. A lead by 46, Adelaide.
The test now for Richmond is, can they fight out the last quarter? Can they win the last quarter? got to set themselves small challenges. They're up against a classier outfit in Adelaide. This will be 6 in a row for the Adelaide Crows as they put themselves right in the picture for September, and a big time player in the September action. Chris Knight's terrific. He's only got a couple of goals tonight. He's kicked some 3s and 4s this year, but they've got so many options now, and all of a sudden they look so much more potent in attack.
Actually spoke to Neil Craig off camera before the game and said to him, shooting for 6 wins in a row and top 4, this is fantastic, the position you're in, given the expectations at the start of the year. And he looked at me and said, well, we actually expected this. We expected to be competitive and a very good team. Just because people in the press didn't expect it doesn't mean he didn't expect it. And they are a very impressive lineup with some good kids. Good chance here for Graham, 45 out.
Yeah, nice pass from Deledio. Just a little chip on the left foot, just inside forward 50. And the big fella will line up for a much needed goal for the Tigers. They've had a great record here at Carrara over the journey. The last 22 years they've played, this is their 6th game, actually only won the 1 game a number of years ago now.
The last time they played at Carrara 18 years ago, 1989, and Jaden Post had just been born. Graham kicks the goal.
He's kicked that very nicely. And it's a good reply for the Richmond side. Under a lot of pressure now, playing an absolute class outfit in the Adelaide Crows. But just the turnover there. But good vision and good little short pass on the left foot. And that's a good conversion from the big fella. Big Ruckman's just hammered that one through. Just need to back it up with another goal. $11,174 here at Carrara, the last game before the Bulldozers knock it down and build us a new one. Gold Coast team into the AFL in 2011. And as the AFL said this week, West Sydney in 2012. So 1 year with a bye, and then 2012, 9 games around.
Richmond continuing to play Jack Revolt loose in defence. And it leaves Van Berlo loose at the other end for the Crows.
Vince, Marich, both up. Jackson to Tambling. Gets it out. McGuan lost it. McLeod likewise. Tambling scoots through a couple. Just missed Jackson with the handball. To go back in and get it. Held him up. Fooled a couple. Heads wide. Ball thumb clear of Hislop. And Thompson attacks it well. Arms free. Handball to Van Berlo. Tambling.
Good leap.
Good jump. And Rewold snuck forward here, and he'll be hoping to get used across half forward.
So Vickery, Hislop, Newman. Couple of speedy steps, then wide. Good opportunity here. Cochin to hit a target. Revolt.
And that's what he needs to do. If he's going to play as the loose man defence, he's got to, when Richmond get possession, push hard forward and find some space in that very position, and he's got to be used.
And what it also does is it creates a mismatch, because Van Berlo was the one that Adelaide freed up, and all of a sudden when Revolt goes forward, well, Van Berlo's not the right man to be marking him.
Been a little wobbly in front of goal in the last couple of weeks. Just the one behind so far tonight. It bends, and he misses by a coat of paint.
Well, boys, also too, Richmond have put Sylvester and Graham deep down the forward line, and that's just made Bock and Runton, what we spoke about at three-quarter time, more accountable in this quarter.
Thanks, Rowan. Crows with numbers again. Bock, John Cock shields his eyes from the sun. Sylvester just overcommitted there. John Cock to Knights. Knocks it clear of Tambling. Dives in. Good commitment. Van Berlo, umpire will sort it out. 39 points the margin.
Yeah, good attack on the ball from Tambling on that occasion. Was outnumbered and held the ball in.
These two teams met twice last year, and it was Adelaide winning both by 8 and 10 goals, those two games. And it might be a similar margin tonight. Knights takes them on from 50. No one in the goal square. Post. Oh, he left it behind. McGuan Mops up the first gamer's mess. First field wide. Moore.
To be fair to the first gamer, that ball had a fair amount of drift on it. It was going to be very hard to take.
And it is interesting that Richmond elected to play Jaden Post in his first game tonight. They could have chose Joel Bowden, as Vickery takes a good mark, but they went with the first gamer. They went with the future instead of the past, in essence. And Joel Bowden continues to languish in Coburg, in the VFL.
Well, they're on here. They are on here.
Revolt to pick up. Gets around a couple and kicks another. Margin back to 33.
He was long overdue to get on the scoreboard, Jack Revolt. He's been dangerous again. We saw him do it last week, create good opportunities, but just hasn't been able to finish. 1 goal, 2 for him. He really should have at least 3 goals to his name. Just knew what was around him. Ran into the corridor, back onto the left foot, but a pretty easy shot for goal from there.
First goal for Jack Revolt, and percentage could be a factor for Richmond. They wouldn't want to win the wooden spoon. Melbourne winning today makes that contest alive again, and then percentage come the end of the season might actually be important for Richmond, just as it is for the teams at the top end of the ladder. Ball shoots out to Shirley. He kicks toward McLeod. Bouncing ball. Jackson tracks him. McLeod long. McKernan down there.
Well done, Polo. Well done, Dean Polo.
Free kick to Polo. McKernan had to give it up.
How'd you see that one, Jace?
No, good stretch of the jumper. I thought that was a really good decision.
Tuck. Cousins with that handball around the back again. Post holds it cleanly this time. Tamlin. Cochin. Deledio takes on Douglas and wins. Graham's inside 50. Rutten, Bott. There they are again.
Big, strong, experienced body on that occasion. Just eased Sylvester under the ball.
Symes. Edwards. He's got Bernie Vince if he wants him. Looks up, thinks about it, and now gives it. John Cock on the move. It's away from Morton. Held up. Richmond flooding players back now. Douglas. He can take off here if he wants to. He's got Otten over the top. Goes longer. McKernan bumped off it. Can't get a run at it. Tippett dragged down, played for the free. Tamlin. Short. Morton. They're fighting this one out, the Tigers. Newman. Uh-oh. Nahas. Dowdy with the big fist. Thompson, the reach for it. Couldn't grab it. Cousins. Jackson. Hand off to Cousins. Kicks it long. Revolt. Might get the jump. Oh, big jump.
Yeah, the jumper, right.
Deledio.
Now, that's an interesting decision because he's no better off Deledio than where Jack Revolt was. But he had 2 players loose. He had Deledio, he had Nahas, and he was hoping, I think, to set something up where they could run in and kick an easy one. But Deledio now has the same set shot that Revolt would have had. A beautiful mark. The kick was set up well. Cousins, he saw where Revolt was at the back, so he sat it up high and long.
Great kick.
Terrific mark.
Saw Brad Symes just reaching back, trying to make body contact, but couldn't feel.
That was a rush of blood there, that pass, surely.
And a fair indication of his confidence in front of goal.
Yeah.
I mean, that position on the ground for a key forward, you would think just go back, pull up the socks and have a shot. That's a great grab. Very nervous position for a defender to be in when you can't feel your opponent. You know he's somewhere and the ball's about to land on your head.
That's end-to-end in the schoolyard. Just the little hover on the back of your mate in front of you, taking in turns, standing underneath the ball.
Put your tubby mate up the front.
That was always me, Lynchy.
Vince, back pocket. 32 points the margin. 1 back pocket to the other. Rutten holds it up. John Cock back to Vince. Adelaide not playing into Richmond's hands by banging a long ball, just maintaining possession. Bock.
They are
Knights.
They're maintaining possession, maintaining their position on the ground as well. They're holding their width and not getting all sucked into the corridor to crowd it up.
John Cock. And Neil Craig does specify that he wants his players to do this, stick to game plans, even when games are already won. Make sure they work on the finer points of the game at all times. And that's one of the reasons why they dropped Taylor Walker this week. Chip kick again, John Cock. In fact, James Seller wasn't really in all that good a form for his team, Glenelg. He only had 12 possessions and 4 marks and 1 goal last week, James Seller, but Neil Craig said that he was doing all the right things when he didn't have the ball. So,
and obviously with the injury to Brad Moran, who's been in some good touch over the last month in the ruck, it left a hole where they had to call up a ruckman.
He is playing for the top team, Glenelg, on the SANFL ladder as well, James Seller, as opposed to McKernan, who attacks this one, playing for South Adelaide, who are having a horrendous year, and it's hard for him to make an impression in a team that's essentially last on the ladder. Tamlin, caught, dragged down. Delidio, 1-2. Newman, Cousins.
Good Shepherd as well off the ball.
Needs a target. Revolt, caught front spot this time. Good attempt at it. John Cock.
1 against 5.
Seller, Bock, and to the open side they go. Symes, Thompson. 23 possessions, 24 coming up for Scott Thompson, who demolished Richmond last year in one of their early meetings with 6 goals in that game, and another big 3-vote game in that game, Scott Thompson.
Gee, that's a good tackle.
It is.
It was a brilliant tackle.
Rewarded by the umpire. Free kick to Symes.
Got the signal from the runner. Just elevated the ball above their head, so they'll be going into their chip it around the ground structure.
Going to run down the last 9 minutes.
Jeez, that'd be painful.
You'd like to think they'd try and kick another 3 or 4 goals.
Rutten over the top, Vince. Otten. Back to Vince. Here they go. And he's got some one-on-ones. Tippett on the move. Gets there. Left it behind. Third go. Gets up. Spins into trouble. Dead,
now.
you think.
He just tried to do a little bit too much.
Once he tried to get past the third
Kept
tackler.
turning into blokes.
And I think he was a little surprised that actually the ball got to him to start with. It came through a number of hands and landed on his chest.
Oh, this is dangerous.
Oh, he's got it back.
Nahas took them on. Turnover. Vince. Knights onto the left. Kickable from there. Across the face. Richmond's ball behind.
Again, it was the hand pass out the back to Robin Nahas, who didn't know whether he had loose players to go to that put him under pressure, and all of a sudden he had to take them all on. Nearly got decapitated by Kurt Tippett. He was licking his chops when he saw Nahas turning back into him. He thought, I might get redemption here. But they've done that a couple of times tonight, the Tigers.
And it's fine to run to that position, but whether you give it or whether you call for it is certainly a different thing. You have to run and move, and sometimes that's just to create space.
Revolt gave it to Edwards, who takes them on.
Nothing forward to kick to.
So Delidio feeds it back to Cousins. Now Nahas can use his speed. He's not a long enough kick, needs to pass it, does so.
Loose player, Revolt
Goal
forward.
square, got to move it on.
Cochin thinks he can go the journey.
I hope he does now.
I don't think he saw him, amazingly, because he's still looking to give it off.
Too late to pass, although he threads the eye of the needle to Jackson.
Love to step that one out. Don't know whether that'd be quite be 15, but yeah, Revolt was just screaming out of the top of the goal square.
Probably 15 metres where Jackson first made contact with the ball, but the second grab was another 5 metres back towards the man that kicked it.
Has kicked one tonight. Daniel Jackson, possession number 25. Perfect. Back to 27 points.
He's worked pretty well again, Jackson. His disposal by foot is around the 50% mark, which is a little bit down on where you need to be. Good work from Ben Cousins on that occasion to draw the player in I think it was Bernie Vince on that occasion, just to allow the space to open up. Opportunity was missed to start with, but then a nice little pass in to Jackson. Good conversion.
Head-to-head with Thompson at the moment. 25 possessions versus 24 for those two at the moment. They haven't been head-to-head all night. Marich in the ruck. Graham reaches over. McLeod, clearance. Open forward line. Paul Pleasure. Beaten for it by Thursfield. Delidio. Got a spark all of a sudden, Richmond. Revolt punched away by Otten. McKay out of play. 18 minutes gone, so we're not yet into time on in this final term. 27 points as it stands. Dangerfield to half forward. Paul Pleasure. They haven't needed him to win the game for them tonight. Knights, gee, that's a good tackle.
Good tackle.
Polo, Newman, Nahas, who just keeps getting better, although spoke too soon. Marich, chip kick, away from McKernan, shrugs the tackle. Handball missed the target first time. Now to McLeod, takes on McGuan. Knights, he kicks around the body to full forward. Edwards. And they're away on the open side here, Richmond. Tambling.
Might just get blocked up now, though. Richmond have got players back.
Over the head of Morton. John Cobb feeds back. Stevens is there for him. Stevens didn't run to the ball, stayed off it, so the handball target was there. Van Berlo, Thompson, Otten, and they can reload. Bock. And short Knights. And he's within range.
Yeah, this shouldn't trouble him. He had a kick from about 53, 54 metres.
He took the mark outside 50, just kept his back to the goals until he got back to the run-up. He thought, I'm having a shot, non-negotiable.
It's nice to see that kind of confidence as opposed to some full forwards who panic and want to give it off when they're inside 50. Already kicked one to this end in this term. 2 goals, 2 for the night. Gee, gave that a long roost from a long way out. Almost Paul Pleasure. They're behind.
Didn't really get hold of that one. No. Got under it a bit.
Nice confidence when you turn your back on it and say, I'm going to take the shot. But you just hope that when you look at the review tape during the week, they don't say to you, who's this bloke all loose in the goal square? Well, you've got your back to play.
Waving his arms.
And Cousins on screen. 8th game for the Tigers. Players 250th in a couple of weeks. This game 246. Off hands, Vickery. Trying to shoot it to Cousins. Jackson likewise. Tuck. Tambling. Vickery. Hislop. And now Newman, if he wants him. Tambling does want him. The leads come. Revolt calling it back to the square. He wants the goal himself. Revolt. Morton in the square. Morton takes the mark on the line.
It was a good mark in the end because he had to make an assessment. Is the ball going to carry through without John Cock touching it? The answer was no, so he ducked in front and took the mark.
Margin back to 22.
There's some good run-off half-back. We saw Tamwin involved again and pierce his way through. Got involved on 2 or 3 occasions on that play, and then great work here by Newman, and that's a very penetrating kick long, and that's the assessment you've got to make, Jace, as you said. If you've got opponents near you, you've got to back yourself in and take the mark, and you certainly couldn't, or high risk to let that one go through.
2 goals for Mitch Morton. He's had a tough year. This must seem a rather pedestrian couple of weeks, given the turmoil with Terry Wallace in the game that apparently he cost them, and then having kicked the goal that won Terry Wallace's final victory. Van Berlo tries to shove it out. 22 points the margin, 3.5 minutes left. It'll be a win to Adelaide, but it won't be by a monster margin.
Just look at that kick to handball ratio of Richmond. There are 152 kicks to 230 handballs, whereas Adelaide Crows 200 kicks, 173 handballs.
Tuck to the pocket, Revolt. Can he keep it alive? He does. Graham, boundary line looming. Stevens, Graham shoves it out. Revolt plays for the free. Ball in. Saw the Adelaide Crows coach's box. Some big names there. Bickley, Hart, Viney.
Well, it probably looked like a percentage booster 30 or 40 minutes ago, but all of a sudden they've tightened their right up. But they can get another one here.
Tambling to Nahas.
High. Yep.
Gets the free. And this will be for number 4.
You know, there's not much of Robin Nahas, but he's not afraid to put himself in the thick of the action. And he gets cleaned up a couple of times. He gets tackled pretty easily because he's very light. And sometimes he has tackles that he's putting on broken because he doesn't have the strength. But it doesn't stop him trying. It doesn't stop him putting himself in the thick of it time after time. And he's reaped the rewards tonight. He's been really, really good. This is possession number 19. He's got 3 goals to his name. This could be number 4.
Let's hope he brings more players of Lebanese descent into our great game. He's kicked 4, and the margin's back to 16.
Well, it's quite extraordinary that it's that close, 16 points, but the Richmond Football Club would be very happy with the likes of Nahas, who's taken them on in the forward half, and I think Tambling's been very good. We've seen him involved in the last 2 goals, and he's had 31 disposals and used the ball very well by foot especially today, and Tambling's been quite good. He's had a couple of good games of recent weeks, and this little man is very dangerous up forward.
All of a sudden a 16-point margin now with 9 minutes on the clock. We saw the Crows play a bit of possession footy. I can just about guarantee if they get hold of it, they'll play some more possession footy to run a bit of time off that clock.
Can the Tigers get the clearance to make this interesting? Vickery up against Marriage. Edwards kicks smothered. Cousins shoots it back. Polo. Newman. Bouncing ball. Just beat Cochin. McLeod. Cochin takes him on. Slung. Done. Holding the ball. Vince.
He'll run this right up.
It's open in front of him.
Sends it inside 50. And the man who started it all might just finish it off here with his 6th.
Well, it's ended up in safe hands. I don't know whether it was the right option to kick when he did. I think he had 30 metres of space, tack that forward 50, and maybe even just give a handball over the top. But in the end, it's been a pretty good pass to a good mark. Kurt Tippett was in a 2-on-1 situation. And as you said, Duano, he'll just line up for number 6.
A little bit too big and strong tonight, Kurt Tippett, and Luke McGuan trying his best, just out-muscled.
Kicked 2 in the first, 2 in the second, 1 in the third, and hasn't got one in the 4th.
And got a little bit of lip from McGuan. Just good to see him standing up to the big fella, but it did take some time off the clock. They've really got to go long down the middle, get numbers and just go long.
Newman.
He certainly wants to.
To Delidio. Although it drops short, Marriage could grab on Graham.
The only problem is Richmond didn't have one player long up the middle of the ground.
Thumps it back. Dangerfield elected not to go up. Cousins. Jackson. Post. Thump clear of him. Sylvester. And the big cat. Sends it to Morton. Good collision. Thompson. Rutten. McLeod. And Thompson to the open side. Vance. Otten. Crowd finding some voice all of a sudden. Over 11,000 here tonight. And Van Berlo has it on the wing.
And I think you've got to give a bit of credit to Jade Rawlings and the Richmond players, because we didn't expect them to win tonight, but they certainly haven't disgraced themselves. They've been outclassed, but they kept fighting, and it's apart from a dismal first 20 minutes, they've been pretty good.
Well, this last quarter, their disposal counts in their favour, 93-85. They worked extremely hard.
Disappointed look on the face of Jade Rawlings, but the Adelaide Crows have won 6 in a row. Neil Craig's men are on the march to September, and they could be a top 4 proposition. They could even grab a home final or 2. And their victory today, whilst not by a big margin, was a victory nonetheless. 17 points to margin, 15-12, 102 to Richmond, 13-7, 85.
They're disappointed coach's box, and rightfully so. Just that last quarter, very impressive. They won the quarter convincingly, 5-2 to 1-3. As I just mentioned, the disposal count was heavily in their favour as well. And the inside 50s went against them, but they were far more effective once they did go inside 50 with their conversion.
And Rowan Smith is downstairs with the star of the show.
Well, Kurt, they pushed you all the way, but it was a good win in the end.
Yeah, look, we're pleased with our start. We really wanted to start well. We felt we didn't get the start we were after against Sydney. We started slow and sluggish, so we were after a good start today, and they came back at us. All credit to them.
Something that was noticeable in the first half was the tackling efforts. Was that something that was emphasised at the start of the game?
Yeah, we just needed to get our intensity up, so we're going to be at them as hard as we could at the start, and we're able to put them under a bit of pressure and turn that into scoring opportunities.
Now, you are a Gold Coast boy. Is it good to be home?
Oh, look, the weather's been great. The boys woke up this morning and couldn't believe how bright and sunny it was. We left cold Adelaide on Friday, so yeah, it was a good surprise to come up here to the weather.
Yeah, the Adelaide coaching staff will probably hope that you wouldn't kick as many goals maybe tonight, because you might just like it a little bit too much up here.
Oh, look, no, I love Adelaide. I'm committed to the Crows, and yeah, we've got an exciting bunch. We saw that tonight. Hopefully there's good things ahead in the future.
Well, 6 in a row. You're really exciting now, and equal 4th on the ladder.
Oh, that's great. Look, we'll just take it one week at a time. I'm not sure what we're going to come on the ladder. Yeah, but we'll just tick that one off, and look forward to versus Fremantle at home next week.
All right, congratulations. Well played tonight. Well done, mate.
Thanks very much.
Said all the right things, except from a management perspective. When he said, I'm committed to Adelaide, Alistair Lynch thought, I've just lost a bit of bargaining power over that statement. But that is terrific news for all Adelaide Crows fans to hear Kurt Tippett say that.
Yeah, he's very settled over there. Brought a house in South Australia and very much likes it. And you know, Jace, yourself, how hard it is to bring a Queenslander back to Queensland to play footy once you've been to a footy state.
No reason why I can't keep the house in Adelaide and buy another one here, Lynchy.
Well, you were offered the GDP of a small Pacific nation to come back, and you knocked it back.
And who ended up taking that deal?
I was just a poor second option.
Oh, he's a big ticket at the moment, Kurt Tippett. He's an important player for Adelaide, and certainly they would have him very high on the list of the Gold Coast.
Stick around, because Jason Dunstall and Alistair Lynch, 2 of the greats of all time. To wrap up straight after the break, the Adelaide Crows have won 6 in a row. They have won at Carrara tonight by 17 points.